Today we're going to look at 3 simple things that you can do to effectively take away some of the insurance company's most favorite arguments, and if you do these 3 things, you can actually increase the value of your case and, more importantly, help win your injury case. So let's get started. Hi, I'm Jim Curtis. I'm an injury lawyer here in the Sunshine State of Florida, and I help people recover physically and financially after an accident. When you've been injured in an accident, you can bet that the insurance company is going to analyze everything that you do from the time of your accident forward, and there's certain things that they're going to be looking for to help give them an argument or arguments as to why they shouldn't pay your claim at all or why they should pay you less for your claim. You see, and I hate to say this, but insurance companies are smart, and unlike most people who aren't in the insurance or legal industry, they understand that after an accident, your medical records will tell a story, and it's a story that jurors are going to believe because it's in the records. The problem, though, for most people who've been injured in an accident is that they're not thinking about the story that their medical records are telling. They're going about their daily lives dealing with all their normal daily responsibilities that they had before they were hurt, while at the same time trying to recover from their injury. It's a lot to juggle, and the insurance companies know this and use it to their advantage because they know a lot of people when it comes to dealing with their life versus dealing with treating for an injury. Many will choose dealing with their life because life doesn't stop just because you're injured. They take advantage of this fact, and they use it against you by painting a picture that your actions aren't consistent with someone who's been seriously hurt. But if you do these 3 things, you can effectively take away these arguments, and here they are. Number 1, go to the doctor as soon as possible after your accident. This may sound like a no-brainer, but there are a lot of people who put off going to the doctor for sometimes days, if not weeks after an accident in hopes that their injury will get better on its own, or just because they don't like going to doctors. For example, a recent client of mine waited 10 days after an accident to finally go to a doctor. Although he says he was in pain the entire time, which I believe, he was just too busy to take the time out of his schedule to see a doctor. 10 days later, his pain was still there, and he's finally making the time to go and get evaluated. Unfortunately, the insurance company in that case offered very little money, citing those 10 days as a basis for their low offer because they didn't believe he was actually injured in the accident because, according to them, if he was, he would have seen a doctor sooner. You can avoid this type of argument by just going to the doctor right after your accident. Even if it's just an urgent care visit or going to a chiropractor, the point is you just need to document your complaints early and as close to the date of the accident as possible. Number 2, be consistent with your medical treatment. When I look at a client's medical records, one of the things that concerns me most is when I see a client who I know has a serious injury and they're only sporadically going to treatment. I mean, you'll see a month of consistent treatment, then nothing for 2 or 3 months, or maybe even longer, and then they're back at treatment again. The problem with this type of sporadic treatment is that it creates what insurance companies call a gap in treatment. A gap in treatment is a period of time in which there's no medical treatment whatsoever for your injuries. This can be the period of time from the date of your accident until your first date of treatment, or a period of time between 2 treating appointments with no medical explanation. Insurance companies love gaps in treatment, and they'll use any gap in treatment to argue that you either weren't hurt in your accident or that your injury resolved and any treatment after the gap isn't related. But if you consistently treat for your injuries, even if it's just a regular maintenance appointment, the insurance company will take note of this and they won't be able to make this argument. And number 3, and this is probably the most important one, follow your doctor's recommendations. The absolute worst thing you can do for your injury case is not follow your doctor's recommendations. Aside from some exceptional circumstances like maybe caring for a sick family member, there's really no good explanation for not following your doctor's orders. Case in point, I had a client who was in a really bad car accident where all the cars were totaled. He suffered neck and back injuries and went to the hospital and then started seeing a chiropractor and a physical therapist for his injuries. Ultimately, like what often happens, he reached a point where that treatment was no longer providing him with sufficient relief. So he went to an orthopedic surgeon for a consultation, and that doctor recommended an epidural steroid injection for his pain. My client refused to follow this recommendation. Reason being, he doesn't like needles. That cost him a lot of money. Now I get it, nobody likes needles. But when you're asking someone to pay for your medical treatment and even more for your pain and suffering and other more personal losses, you can bet that the person or insurance company is going to look at the fact that you refused to do something that could have helped you, and they're going to think that maybe you just weren't as injured as you claim. Bottom line, if you want to increase the value of your injury case and, more importantly, win your injury case, you have to have early and consistent medical treatment, and you have to be compliant with what the doctors tell you to do. Anything short of this, you're just helping the insurance company, and more importantly, you're costing yourself valuable dollars in recovery. If you like this video, be sure to subscribe to my channel and check out my other videos for even more great tips and information.